Welcome to the deep dive. Today, we're doing something a bit different, actually. We're exploring the source, a museum wander for language lovers.
Mm,
And it's not really about, specific English words or grammar this time. It's more about stepping into a certain kind of place, a special kind of conversation.
right. And what's really interesting about this source is how it talks about museums.
Mm.
It calls them quiet, magical places where stories, well, where they live inside stone, canvas, glass, and light.
Mm-hmm.
So the stories aren't just told, they're sort of in the materials themselves. It's a really different way to think about narrative.
Exactly. That's the core idea we're diving into. Like, we're taking this virtual wander through a museum, not just looking at stuff, but trying to sense how stories are embedded in the objects, going beyond just the little description card next to the artifact, really feeling the narratives that are kind of hiding in plain sight.
Precisely. And the source makes this point that every object, doesn't matter how old or where it's from, has this kind of unique linguistic fingerprint. It uses the example of sculpture, like Rodin's The Thinker, the posture, that clenched hand. It tells a story of deep thought, maybe it's struggle.
Okay, imagine this with me for just a second. It's a quiet morning. The city's barely awake. And you open this really heavy, kind of ancient-looking door.
Right.
You step inside, and it's not just, a building. You're stepping into this hushed world.
Yeah. You can almost feel the change in atmosphere.
Exactly. And there's that smell. Old stone, maybe polished wood, aged paper. It just hangs in the air.
And the light is soft. Coming through those tall windows, you see other people just sort of lost in thought.
Yeah. You've basically entered a space where history, art, language, they all just, wow, they weave together in really surprising ways.
And right then, in that moment, you're suddenly part of this unfolding story.
Yeah.
And that's really the mission for our deep dive today, isn't it? To sort of unpack how that whole museum experience,
Right.
from the really ancient things that have seen millennia past to maybe those challenging modern pieces,
Yeah.
how it can be this powerful catalyst for new insights.
It's not just looking at pretty pictures.
No, not at all. It's about honing your observation skills, maybe boosting your own way of expressing yourself.
And really getting how we connect thoughts and feelings to, well, to language.
Precisely.
And our source material, Museum English, art, culture, and expression, it's a fantastic guide for this whole journey.
It really is.
So for you listening, the goal here is to find those surprising little nuggets,
Yeah.
How being in a museum can actually sharpen your ability to describe things, to ask questions.
And just generally enrich how you express yourself.
Absolutely. So let's start that walk through these quiet, story-filled halls.
Okay. So you take that first step inside, that initial sensory hit, it's so important.
Mm-hmm.
That smell of old stone and wood. It's not just a smell, is it? It's like the scent of all the stories held in those walls.
Yeah, it's evocative.
And the soft light, the quietness,
Mm.
it all kind of encourages your mind to slow down, to really look.
It's like the place itself is telling you to pay attention.
Exactly. Lean in.
And right away, we can start thinking about natural English phrases for just observing. Forget the textbook stuff.
Right.
Think about how you'd actually react, like in a real conversation, if something grabs you.
You might just think, wow, this piece really caught my eye.
Or, I'm fascinated by the details here. Or even just looks ancient, doesn't it?
Yeah. Or asking yourself, I wonder what the story is behind this.
Or maybe feeling like it reminds me of something specific.
Or even just, I can't quite explain why, but it feels powerful.
Yeah. Those are the real phrases, the organic stuff that just comes out when you connect with something.
Exactly. They're not stiff sentences from a grammar book. They're authentic reactions. It shows how conversation often values that genuine response.
I'm trying that in my head right now. Like you're standing in front of a painting, it just clicks with you.
Uh-huh.
What's the very first thing you feel like saying? Even just silently.
Maybe. Wow, it's really caught my eye. I love the colors.
Or it makes me feel, I don't know, peaceful somehow.
Or just wondering, what inspired the artist here?
Yeah. Just saying those first thoughts, even in your head, that's a really powerful first step.
So moving on, maybe deeper into that first gallery, you encounter ancient art.
Right. These aren't just objects. They're like echoes from other
We're
worlds.
talking stone figures, maybe some are broken, thousands of years old.
Hmm.
A Greek statue, 5th century BC, something like that.
Hmm.
And what's really amazing is just they survived.
It's incredible.
Wars, earthquakes, just time itself.
Mm.
And now you're standing right there looking at it.
It's kind of mind-boggling when you think about it.
Totally.
And our language finds ways to capture that awe, right?
Yeah.
Phrases like, it's incredible how well this has survived.
Or I can almost imagine what it looked like new.
Yeah, there's that feeling of something timeless about it.
Uh-huh. Or you sense that it's telling a silent story?
But what kind of stories are they really telling us?
Well, that's a great question, because they weren't just decorations, you see. Many ancient sculptures, for example, they had deep religious or civic roles. They might represent gods, heroes,
Mhm.
or even abstract ideas like justice.
So that silent story has real weight.
Exactly. And when you try to put that into words, you're fundamentally boosting your language skills.
Mhm.
You start using more adjectives: beautiful, powerful, mysterious.
You're practicing expressing feelings, opinions.
Yeah, naturally. And here's the real magic, I think. When you connect emotionally to what you're seeing,
Mm.
your brain doesn't just learn words. It attaches this strong personal experience to them, makes them stick way better than just memorizing a list.
Ah, so the emotion makes the memory stronger.
It's like a supercharger for your vocabulary.
So it's not just about saying the words right, it's about finding a more authentic voice through it all.
That's a powerful way to put it, yes.
Okay, so leaving that ancient quiet. Let's imagine stepping into a space that's just bursting with stories. A gallery of big narrative paintings.
Right. Epics on canvas.
And one just grabs you immediately. It's dramatic. Stormy sea, tiny boat struggling against huge waves.
Yeah. You can almost feel the spray.
Totally. So how do you capture that intensity? You might use phrases like, it feels really dramatic and intense.
Or maybe focus on the technique. I love how the artist used light and shadow here.
Or the energy. There's so much movement in this painting.
Or the theme. It makes me think about, struggle,
Yeah.
but also hope.
And notice how just combining simple words can be so powerful. Like, the sea looks wild and dangerous.
But there's also hope in that light breaking through the clouds.
Yeah, it's about conveying the feeling.
And then you can take it a step further, add your own take. Instead of just, it's beautiful, maybe try.
Personally, I find this piece really moving.
Or, to me, it speaks about human courage. Something like that.
Even focusing on a detail. What I love most is the contrast between the light and dark. It just adds depth, makes your English sound more engaged.
Right, more authentic. And if we think about learning language, just imagining the story behind that painting. Who painted it? Why? What were they feeling?
Mm-hmm.
That activates your imagination. It pushes you to use longer sentences, connect ideas.
And it creates that emotional connection we talked about.
Exactly, which is key for memory, for fluency. Even if your imagined story isn't, historically accurate, the exercise itself is so valuable.
Okay. Let's shift gears completely now.
Right.
The air feels different here. Walls are bright white. No classical statues, no old paintings. Instead, strange shapes, bright colors, weird materials.
Welcome to the world of modern art. Often baffling, always interesting.
Yeah, and if your first thought is, wait, is this really art, or you just feel confused?
That's totally normal. Even for people who look at art all the time, modern art often challenges our ideas because it's not always trying to be realistic.
Right.
Sometimes it's about an emotion or an idea or maybe a comment on society, using forms and colors in completely new ways.
It's less about what it is.
And more about how it makes you feel or what it makes you think.
Which is actually a great opportunity, linguistically speaking.
Definitely. You get to learn English phrases for expressing not just admiration, but honest confusion, surprise, maybe even curiosity.
That's a good point. You can be totally honest. Instead of pretending you get it,
Yeah.
you could say something like, I'm not sure I get it, but it's interesting.
Or it makes me curious. What was the artist thinking here?
You could even admit, honestly, it feels a bit strange, but I can't stop looking at it.
Or it's so abstract, but somehow it feels alive. That's real, authentic language use.
What's interesting is how modern art pushes you to describe feelings or abstract ideas, not just objects.
Right. Instead of, it's a horse, you might say.
It feels chaotic, but energetic.
Or it reminds me of freedom, perhaps.
It forces your English to be more emotional, more nuanced, more expressive, really.
Mm-hmm. Imagine a huge canvas, wild brush strokes everywhere, riots of red and blue. Looks like the artist was practically dancing.
Yeah, an explosion of movement. You might just blurt out, it's so vibrant.
It almost feels like I can hear the colors.
Exactly. You've hit on something there, how art can trigger senses beyond just sight.
And this is where expressing nuance is so powerful. You can use phrases like, it's just full of energy.
Or I love how spontaneous it looks.
Maybe even, it's messy, but in a beautiful way.
Where it feels like movement frozen in time,
Yeah.
capturing what it evokes in you.
And the patterns are so useful. It makes me feel, and then add excited, peaceful, uneasy, whatever.
Or it reminds me of a storm, a childhood memory.
It feels like chaos and harmony at the same time. You just fill in the blank with your own reaction.
And here's something really crucial, I think, for anyone looking at art, learner, or native speaker.
What's that?
Sometimes you just won't understand it, and that's okay.
Absolutely. It's perfectly fine, even confident, to say, I have no idea what this is about, but I love the colors.
Or, to be honest, I'm still trying to figure it out.
Yeah.
That honesty is way better than pretending.
I completely agree. And a great advanced tip for dealing with art that puzzles you. Ask questions out loud, even just to yourself. I wonder why the artist chose these colors specifically, or what message were they trying to send here?
Or even just speculating, could it possibly mean?
Yeah. It turns your inner thoughts into actual spoken English. You're actively engaging with the piece.
What's cool is that even really abstract art, stuff that looks totally random, it still has a story.
Always. The artist might have been expressing anger or joy or loss. Or maybe it's a comment on society or freedom.
And when you let yourself imagine those possible stories, your English gets richer, longer, more alive.
Right. Take a stark black and red painting. You might think maybe the artist painted this after losing someone. The red feels like anger, maybe pain, and the black feels like emptiness.
The point isn't being right about the artist's intention.
No, it's the practice. Practicing fluency, practicing emotional expression.
And that emotion, that's the glue, isn't it?
It really is. When you speak with genuine feeling, your voice sounds more natural. The words stick better in your memory. You connect better with your own thoughts. Don't hide the feelings.
Okay, keep walking. Now you see a sculpture made of broken glass and mirrors.
Ooh, intriguing.
As you move, you see yourself reflected, but all fragmented and strange.
So it's beautiful, but also maybe unsettling.
Exactly. You might call it haunting. Or notice that it feels fragile and dangerous at the same time.
There could be something sad about it, but also oddly hopeful. It really pushes you to articulate complex, even contradictory feelings.
And this is where you can really bridge the art to your own life.
How so?
You might find yourself thinking, this reminds me of my childhood, or a feeling fragmented.
Or I felt like this once during a really difficult time.
Or even bigger thoughts, like it makes me think about how fragile life can be.
Ah, I see. Those personal connections make your English not just accurate, but really resonant, uniquely yours.
So as we step into our final gallery, we're entering the most modern space yet. A room where art isn't just something you look at. It's something you might touch or hear or move through.
We're talking about installations now, where the artist creates a whole environment for you to experience.
Exactly. The line between the artist and you, the viewer, gets really blurry here.
It feels alive, right? You might say, wow, it changes depending on where I stand.
Or just, I've never experienced anything like this before.
Yeah, that feeling of being part of the artwork itself, it's unique.
Imagine a huge digital waterfall
Cool.
where the water visually flows around your shadow as you get close. It reacts to you.
That sounds magical. Like the art is actually noticing you.
Yeah. You might describe it as beautiful and a bit surreal.
Surreal. Like dreamlike or strangely fascinating, blurring reality and imagination.
Exactly. And it immediately makes you want to describe movement and light. The lights are dancing on the
The
walls.
colors change as I move.
It feels different every single second.
Then maybe there's another piece. Thousands of tiny photos, collected from people all over the globe, all displayed together.
Oh, wow. That sounds incredibly moving.
It makes you think, doesn't it? Every single photo is one small story.
But together.
They tell something much bigger about being human.
Spot on. And it encourages these more thoughtful phrases beyond just describing. Like, it makes me reflect on, well, the vastness of human experience.
Or it reminds me that everyone really does have a story.
I feel connected to people I've never even met just through these images.
And when you start saying things like that, you naturally use longer sentences, find new connecting words. Your fluency just deepens.
And sometimes art is just deliberately challenging. Imagine a video installation. Just a man staring straight at the camera for 10 minutes. Doesn't move.
Okay, my first thought is nothing's happening. It's just a guy.
Right. But if you stay with it, if you really let yourself observe, you start noticing tiny things.
The slight flicker in his eyes, the tiny movements from breathing, the way the light shifts on his face over time.
Ah, okay. So at first you might not get it, but then you're almost forced to notice more.
It makes you slow down. It might feel uncomfortable at first, but then it gets interesting.
And maybe that's the whole point, to make us really look beyond how we usually glance at things.
Exactly. And language becomes so crucial then for articulating those complex, subtle responses.
This whole journey through art, it also acts as this amazing bridge to bigger ideas about life, doesn't it?
Absolutely. Art naturally leads you to talk about concepts like memory, time, identity, beauty, change.
Yeah, like standing before some really eroded sculpture, you might think, this makes me think about how time changes everything. Even hard stone gets smooth eventually.
You start connecting what you see to what you think and feel.
That broken mirror reminds me how we all see ourselves differently, through our own filters.
Or those moving lights in that installation. They feel like life itself, always changing, always in flux.
Practicing that connection really enriches your language.
And for a really nice touch, you can use metaphors.
Ah, yes.
Like,
yeah.
The shadows dance on the walls, or the silence in this room feels heavy.
The sculpture whispers secrets of the past. Even simple ones like that can make your English really stand out.
And we've touched on some key words too, like brushstroke for how paint's put on, vibrant for intense color.
Abstract for non-realistic art, sculpture for 3D stuff, installation for those immersive environments.
And texture, how something feels or looks like it feels. Like you might say, I love the bold brushstrokes here. They feel so vibrant.
So from those ancient pieces whispering history to modern works that challenge us.
Yeah, this deep dive, I think it shows that engaging with art is way more than just, liking how something looks. It's about developing a richer, more emotional, and just more honest way of expressing what you see and feel. In your own voice heard.
And that's really the beautiful takeaway, isn't it? Every piece of art, no matter what it is or what you think it means, it's basically an invitation.
An invitation to do what?
To slow down, to really look carefully, and then to try and put your own unique internal response into words.
And that process, it doesn't just help you understand the world better.
No, it fundamentally deepens your ability to connect your inner thoughts to how you express yourself outwardly.
So the final thought for you listening.
Yeah.
The next time something catches your eye, could be a painting, could just be a sunset.
Yeah.
Take that extra moment. Notice not just what you see, but how it makes you feel. And then maybe just try to find the words for it.